In this episode, we talk about California state agricultural issues with one of the California state senators. This is Talk Ag to Me. Hello and welcome to Talk Ag to Me, a podcast dedicated to improving ag literacy around the globe. I'm your host, Brendan Black, and in today's episode, we interview Brian Dahle, one of the state senators for the state of California and a local farmer from here in the Central Valley. Senator Dahle took some time to talk to us a little bit about some of the California issues that he is involved in trying to combat and help with. He tells a little bit about his story as a farmer and how he got into the political atmosphere, and a little bit about the state of agriculture in California now and where he expects it to go. It's a great episode. It's one of our shortest episodes, mostly because we didn't have a whole lot of time to get the interview out, but we're hoping to do a follow-up at some point. And I'm also hoping to get in some other senators on the podcast at some point, so look forward to that as well. But thank you so much, Senator Dahle, for making the time to do this episode. I look forward to hearing from you again, and I hope you all enjoy. That being said, make sure you do all the things that we always talk about: like, comment, subscribe, share, do all those things. Make sure you're sharing not just with your online friends and family, but with your offline ones around the dinner table as well. Tell them if you learned a thing or two from this episode, because I hope that you did. I know I sure did. But that's all I have for you guys. So without further ado, enjoy the episode. All right. So before we get started, for anyone who doesn't know, would you mind introducing yourself and telling the audience a little bit about who you are?
So I'm Brian Dahle. I'm a state senator representing the 1st Senate District, and I'm also a farmer. I'm actually out in the one place I get really good cell service today here at my farm. I bought it from my dad after my mom after my dad passed away, but it's been in our family, this piece of property right here, for 83 years. But we've been farming in California for 92 years, and so we do cereal grains for seed. Right now we're organic, and we're planting Australian field peas as a cover crop for fertilizer in the next following crop. So we have a seed processor. We sell seed, mainly goes to dairies and into hay for beef cattle.
Very cool. All right. So before you got into your elected office, you said you were a farmer. Was there anything else you were doing, or was farming kind of your full time?
Well,
gig?
my family farmed, and it was a lot tougher, it seemed, in the younger days. But I worked construction and did a lot of other things. Worked in a gold mine, built power lines. I did a lot of stuff when I was younger. Always helping my father on our family farm, and then about 30 years ago, 25 years ago, I guess, I started my seed business on my own, and then grew the business. And so I got into politics, though, 27 years ago. So I started, people came to me and asked me to run for office, and that's how I got in politics. My neighbors. I served on the Farm Service Agency Board first, and then on the County Board of Supervisors for 16 years, and I'm in the legislature. I'll start my 12th year and my final year in January.
Wow. Okay. So this is definitely not a new position for you by any means. So what you said your neighbors are the ones that motivated you to get into office. What kind of inspired you to climb up the ranks all the way to the Senate?
Well, I never had really any political aspirations. I just wanted to make land use is a big deal for agriculture. So at the county level, we wanted to make sure we were able to stay on our land and not subdivide the good land up and just make good policy. So I served there for 16 years until our county was totally debt free. And people said, you should run for a higher office, Brian. You're the kind of person we need at a higher office. And quite frankly, a lot of decisions are made at the higher levels that affect the counties. And so I decided to run for the legislature in 2011 and was elected for the 2012 in the Assembly. Served 6.5 years in the Assembly, and then went to the Senate. And that's where I'll finish up.
Awesome. So when you got into office versus now, has there been any change in agriculture that you've been able to be a part of or witness in terms of agricultural issues, water, land use, anything like that?
Yes. So we're basically, in my opinion, under attack, and not because people don't know. We don't do a very good job of sharing what we do. We're organic. We do lots for wildlife here. We managed this land for 83 years. This piece I'm standing on, and we want to take care of it. We're really good stewards of it. I want my sons and my daughter to be able to continue doing what my grandfather started here. So yes, we've seen labor laws. We've seen the minimum wage go up. We've seen ag overtime go away. We've seen pre 1914 water rights last year. They tried to come after. So there's a lot happening that impacts agriculture hugely. Air quality standards for our equipment has been huge impact to us. We can't, we have to retire our trucks out. So yes, there's been not a lot favorable, but mostly just regulations on top of regulations. And we compete in a world market, and it makes it very difficult to compete even against people. For our business, we compete against Oregon, Washington, Idaho for seed. And 2 years ago, they shipped seed in here for the same price we can produce it for. So, higher gasoline, higher diesel prices, higher electricity, higher labor, all impact agriculture in California.
Yeah, no, I would say so. Has being a farmer and being a senator given you any more of a voice or a seat at the table and talking about those issues?
Well, I felt that North State, most people think Northern California is Sacramento. I live 4.5 hours north of Sacramento. And so, I get my mail in the town of 217 people, very rural. So I decided that people need to know what we do out here. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't understand. So I've had, over the 11 years I've been in the legislature, we've invited members out to our farm, stay the night, break bread with us, see what we do. Actually, we kept track. We're at 127. So I think I hold the record probably in the history of the legislature that I'm aware of for having people to our district and sharing our district. We have it's beautiful. I mean, you look behind me here. It's our nearest neighbor is 8 miles away. So we're out and, it's awesome. But we share that with them and share that forestry is a big deal in my district. So we talk about the watersheds. Fire's been huge. We have, Mount Shasta. We have two volcanoes, Mount Shasta, Mount Lassen. We have Shasta Lake. We have Tahoe's in my district. We also have Oroville and Folsom. So 60% of California's water comes from the first Senate district. It's a big deal to the state. So we share that. And that's when it's been very successful for me. So when I go back to Sacramento and I start talking about legislation or things that are impacting us, they can take that visual look. Oh, yeah, I remember what Brian was talking about when we were there. And I can sometimes get votes against stuff and votes for stuff. So that's been very productive.
Yeah, so that's awesome. So have you been able to learn any more about some of the factors that are influencing those issues in agriculture and been able to I mean, you mentioned that you've been able to have a decent impact on those in your district in that area. Have you been able to have any leeway on getting some more support for the agriculturalists, in the state?
Yeah, so statewide, I mean, as you're aware, California is very diverse when it comes to agriculture and very competitive. And the big companies are squeezing out the little ones, and it's no different than any other business. But yes, I've had a ability to be able to work with people like the Farm Bureau, Forestry Association, and care about and try to really educate people that food just doesn't come from a store; it gets there somehow. And because there's a lot of people that are disconnected from their food source, and I think the biggest takeaway for me has been that we produce the safest food in the world here in California. I mean, there's no more regulations than anywhere in the world, and the top quality food. And I don't think people understand, that we do a great job at it, and they need to know that. If you go to another country, and we're shipping that stuff in here from other countries that we don't know what's been put on it, but we're totally regulated to where we know exactly what we're eating in most cases.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's great. I think it's good to work with some of those organizations and get some more support for agriculture through those entities. One of the questions that I have, since this, my podcast is dedicated to connecting people to agriculture and improving agricultural literacy, is what do you think some of us can do on the ground level to help with some of the increasing the awareness of those elected officials about what the farmers need, about what we need to be able to increase our agricultural production, or at least support it in a way that makes it less difficult for our farmers to get what they need to get done.
I think the most important thing is to educate. And like I said, you'll be surprised that very well educated people don't understand a lot about what we do. And so the more you can get out and get a one-on-one conversation, show them. Ag tours are great to farms, and then schools. I can't stress how much we need to be teaching our young people what we do and how we do it. I mean, FFA is a great organization. We've been supportive of that. They do a great job of putting out people who know how to work and do what we do as well. And there's a lot of other, grassroots type things. My job depends on ag. Was a homegrown Valley guy that just wanted to share, what he did, and it grew into something. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff going on, and I just think we need to get more people involved and realize that food is something we have to have. Period. You can get by with for a few days, but after that, you need food, and how vulnerable we are to outside our control, food security, and that means water. That means all land. We have other countries buying land in our state and in our nation, which is concerning to me.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So I guess the next thing that comes to mind for me is, where do you see agriculture going for the next few years? Maybe let's say the next 10 years or so, policy wise, production wise. I know we've had some weird weather situations this year. So if you had to make a prediction, where do you think agriculture is going to go in the next few years?
I would say that you're going to see more small family farms go away. And you're going to see more corporate farms or bigger companies buy out smaller farms. Because I'll give you an example. We have about 3,500 acres here. About 2,000 of it's farmable, and we have all these changes with the equipment. We have to get different types of equipment because of air quality standards, and they're huge expenses. I mean, a harvester is $1 million today, and even 200,000 or 300,000 is a huge impact for us. And so you have to farm a lot of land if you're going to spend that kind of money on equipment. And so that's what you're going to see. I think you're going to see bigger farms and less family farms, and you're going to have a niche market. I think you'll see, the farm to fork, backyard, small acreage type farmers, and then you're going to see big farmers, and you're going to see them continue to grow, because you have to grow. There's no possible way you can stay in business and be small because of the regulations, and it's hard to find the quality workers that we need as well. I'd say in 10 years, you won't recognize California. And 15 years, for sure, you're going to see just huge corporate farms. You may see a lot of the family farms managing that land and helping out with that, but not owning it or leasing it out to them.
Wow. Yeah, no, I can definitely see where that's, where you're coming from with that. I think it's a hard thing to see, as someone growing up around agriculture, but I think that's kind of the reality that we're at with our state.
Well, there's no possible way that, in my mind, you could buy land, buy the equipment, borrow the money, and start a farm today. We've been doing it a long time, and I've had outside jobs most all the time to help supplement, the tough times in the farm.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think we're at a point now where it makes more sense to it makes more sense for agriculture to evolve and expand than it does to try to combat some of the things that are making it so difficult to farm nowadays. So yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. If you had any advice for people who are involved in agriculture, or who are maybe trying to get the word out more, if they're, whether or not they're wanting to get involved in office, or they're just wanting to get more vocal and more active, what would you recommend that they do?
Well, I think this is a perfect opportunity, something like you're doing right here. Hopefully people will watch this and understand. You got to share the word, share. I think the story of, so when I was first running for the legislature, they told me a ballot title a farmer on the ballot title is second best. The best is a firefighter. So firefighters are number one, farmers are number two. So people generally like farmers. They trust them. They know they're hard workers, and we all know that. That's just the facts. I mean, we farmed till 3 o'clock this morning. We get, as you can see, there's clouds in the sky, and they're talking about rain tomorrow. We have really heavy soils. We got to get our crop in, so we're going to work late tonight. Hopefully, we'll finish. So they're hard workers. They're trustworthy people. They're good people, and so most people understand that and everybody eats. So we love farmers. So I think that's the story. Tell our story. Tell people what we do, and share with them that we want to stay doing what we do. We want to, my goal in life was just to be a farmer. I love farming. I never thought I'd be in politics because I just want to feed people, and I love to tend the land and take care of it and watch it produce. Nothing better than harvesting a great crop. There's nothing better than that after you've done all that work. And so that's what I'd share. I think we need to share our story more, and that's probably the most impactful and most fruitful.
Yeah, no, there we go. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that's a great message. I like that a lot. I think that I'm starting to run out of questions here. You kind of addressed everything I was going to ask there, so
Okay.
I really thought that I had more for you. But as we're wrapping up here, is there anything that you'd like to add? Anything you'd like to share about your personal endeavors? Anything like people to look more into, be more informed about? Anything that anything you want to share?
Well, I think the biggest challenge that I see in Sacramento I don't want to put farmers in a group, but I want to put small business owners. So the person that, like me, 1 to 10 employees, whether you own a convenience store, or you own a car wash, or you cut hair, or whatever small businesses really are not represented very well when it comes to the lobby part of Sacramento. We're fortunate that we have the Farm Bureau as an organization. Western Growers is another one, and there's Almond Alliance. But really, we need to engage in the political part of it, not so much, which means get behind candidates and support them and get them out and get your people elected. It's amazing to see that we're all busy working. We're all busy, milking a cow or tilling the field or whatever. And we need to take that time, and we need to, go to Sacramento, or we need to get behind candidates, because I will tell you, one of the biggest reasons I got elected was because my neighbors pitched in and helped me get there. And because you have to have resources, money, to tell your story. If you don't have any resources, you can't tell a story. And so, the farmers in my community that I served for 16 years on the Board of Supervisors said, "Hey, we want you in Sacramento." So they helped me. And so that's what I would share, is get behind a candidate, find a good candidate that has the same values you have as far as ag and life, and then help them walk precincts, share their stuff on social media. It's very important.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great message. I like that a lot. Yeah, I like I said, I thought I'd have more questions, but really you hit on all the points I was hoping you would hit on. So that's perfect.
All right, well, I'll close with this. You can always trust somebody who has calluses on their hands, and this is a great world. It's a great state climate. We have all the things we need to produce, but we need to make sure the legislature knows. And what I will close with saying, you have to do more than vote. Voting is one thing that you must do. The second thing is you must get behind a candidate, and you must help them out, because it's very important.
Well said. That's a good point. All right. Well, if you don't have anything else to contribute, then I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're a busy man, so I'll let you get back to your work. But no, I think that you hit the nail right on the head. I look forward to getting this episode out so people can hear that, and hopefully give you some support, since you're out there advocating for what we're fighting for here too.
We'll post it. We'll share too.
Awesome. I appreciate that.
We have a lot of people following us.
I would imagine so. No,
I'm the number one in the Senate Republican side, so
perfect.
We'll share it out too, so it might help you out a little bit.
I appreciate that. Yeah, no, I'll make sure that it's out. If I can, I'll get it out this week. If not, then it'll be out next week. But I'll make sure you all know about when it's coming out and all that sort of thing. But
all right, well, hopefully we'll meet someday.
Yeah, no, I would like.
Thanks for doing what you're doing. It's important. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I'm always out here trying to make sure people are aware of the same kind of things that you're fighting for. So I appreciate that. But
All right. Well, have a good day.
you too. Thank you.
Take care.
So that concludes one of our shortest episodes of Talk Ag to Me, but in my opinion, one of the most impactful. Thank you once again, Senator Dahle, for having the time to, or making the time to have this discussion about California agricultural issues. I think it's really important that we have these conversations about how we can improve California's agriculture, and not just California's, but national and worldwide agriculture by having these conversations on the political level about what can be done to support agricultural efforts. Once again, I appreciate you taking the time. Thank you to your coordinator that helped me get this episode planned out. I hope that we're able to have a follow-up episode at some point and talk more in depth about some of the issues we talked about today. But I think it was a great episode. We covered some important topics. I really enjoyed it. I hope that you and the audience enjoyed it as well. Once again, make sure you comment, like, subscribe, share, do all the things. If you enjoyed this episode or if you learned anything from it, share it with your friends and family, both on and offline, and tell them what you learned. Tell them what you enjoyed about it, and make sure that you are doing your part in voting and having these discussions and in pushing your thoughts forward as to where agriculture should be. Because in all honesty, not much change gets done by just talking about it. As much as I enjoy having the conversations, it's important that action is made. And as we've discussed on this podcast many a time, there are an abundance of issues facing agriculture that don't get any easier unless there's advocacy and support for the agriculture industry. So I don't often take a political stance on this podcast, but in the true nature of this podcast, I always defend agriculture. I always support agricultural efforts. And so if I have the opportunity to talk to people who also share that value, I'm going to do so. So that being said, thank you once again, Senator Dahle. Thank all of you so much for listening. And I hope to catch you all next week or in the next episode. And don't forget, if you ate today, thank a farmer.